Hey everybody, welcome to Board Online, Board Offline. Today we're bringing you another video from another channel. This is the Carolina Gamer. Now, he has a focus on not only gameplays, but he creates his own automas, his own solo variants for board games, and he brings a lot of videos to you about those over on his channel. Be sure to click on the link in the description below to go check out everything else the Carolina Gamer has to offer.
Hey everyone, so I am excited to bring you a playthrough series on Street Masters. We are going to take a solo character and we are going to compete in a story mode, which is an interlocked narrative across 2 to 3 missions. And at the end, we will see if we win or lose. So it's like a little small campaign, and as we play, we can level up and upgrade our characters. So this video is going to be a setup and a general how to play. We will get to more specifics later as to certain rules as they come up and as we play. But this is going to be a general how to play as well as a setup video. But the first thing you're going to do is you're going to choose a fighter. And what I love about this game is you can play with one character. You don't have to solo two-hand multiple characters. You can solo with only one character, and that's why I love doing it. The games are quick. There's not much to remember, so I love it. So we are going to play as Natalia. So I have her figure right here, ready to go, as well as her deck. And so you're going to want to take a fighter, if this is your first time playing, a fighter turn reference card, and just have that nearby your player area. Have your fighter ready to go. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your fighter card and you're going to place it down in your player area, and you're going to shuffle your fighter deck. Once you do that, you can draw 4 cards to start the game, and just put your deck to the side. I'm going to place this down here so I can put my discard pile right here. Okay. You are allowed to mulligan in this game. It doesn't have to be your entire hand if you don't like it. You can take 1 card, 2 cards, 3 cards, and discard them and draw up to 4. I like getting tactics early on because, as we'll see here in a second, tactics are types of cards in your deck that stay in play until an effect puts them out of play. So I have an ability, Razor's Edge, a tactic stealth, an ability, and another attack stealth. So I want to keep the tactic stealth, and I'm going to discard the other 3 and then draw back up to 4 cards. So 1, infiltrate, it's another tactic and it's a stealth. It's 2, rush B, it's an ability. 3, and Razor's Edge, it's also an ability. So now we have 2 tactics, and the discarded card just go back into your deck, and you can shuffle your deck. But the only card in play at the start of the game is your character card. And as we can see with Natalia, we have 18 health, and it takes her 6 power-ups in order to flip to her charged up side. So when you're placing this character down, you want to make sure the charged up side, which is this yellow side, is face down. That's the more powerful side, and it's going to allow you to do stronger attacks or have stronger abilities. But for now, we're going to have the non-charged up side, and that's going to go face down. I'll have my hand ready, and it's time to move on to the next step. Now you need to decide who are you going to fight against. So we are going to go up against the cartel. So I went ahead and pulled their deck. You can see it says the cartel on it. Additionally, you want to get the matching figures that that come with the cartel. And you can see I have these off to the side, right over here, ready to go. So we're going to search through this deck and find their big bad boss. In this case, his name is Juan. He has 18 health P, and that simply means per player. So in this case, since we're playing with one character or one player, he's going to have 18 health. He's also going to attack with 3 white die, and he has a setup. So you want to make sure you read your boss's setup, if there is one, to make sure you get all those things into play if there are such things. This one says setup. Put the 1812 flintlock carbine into play. So we'll search the deck. I just went ahead and seeded this because I knew it was coming out. So 1812 flintlock carbine. All right. So we will go over what these cards are showing as we play, but for now, we're just going to create an enemy area to the side of the board, and we're going to put Juan and the flintlock carbine. Next, we have the fighter. We have who we're fighting against. We need a location. Where are we fighting at? And this is going to give the boss an objective for them to possibly win the game with. So I chose to play with supply and demand. So you're going to take a player board and you're going to put it out, and then you're going to find the corresponding deck, supply and demand, and you're going to read the stage setup. So this says remove distribution network. It's a card from the stage deck and place it in the stage play area. So we'll go ahead and do that. Remove each copy of Pinned Down from the stage deck and place one copy in each fighter's threat area. Remove the remaining copies from the game. So there's 4 of those in the deck of Pinned Down. We're going to take one copy and put it in our threat area. Move this up a little bit so there's room. And we're going to remove these other 3 back to the box. So in a player area, you're going to have your card, your deck of cards, your hero, any cards you control, aka tactic cards, and then you're going to have a threat area where different minions can come out and mess with you, or different cards from the decks could come out and they would go to your threat area, which is this little area right above. So let's finish with setting up the supply and demand stage setup. Each fighter searches the deck for a copy of Contraband and puts it into play. Then shuffle that stage deck. Okay. We'll just grab this one. It's the purple Contraband card. We'll put that into the stage area. We will shuffle the supply and demand deck. All right, so we need to find the purple objective. There are 5 objective tokens that come into the game. And unless otherwise specified, objective markers come into the game inactive, which is on this, it's black. This is active, inactive. And we'll simply look at the board and look for the purple objective marker, which is right here. So we will place it there. All right. Next, we will look at the board for any crate locations. There are 5 symbols on the board with crates, and we will want to put crates there now. So we need to place our fighter as well as the big bad boss we're playing against for this stage. So the big bad boss is Juan. You will look on the board and you will look for this symbol. That is where the bosses start. So we'll go ahead and place him here. And then for Natalia, we have 4 options. There are 4 joystick spots on the board. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can choose one of those 4 positions to place your character. All right, so let's go ahead and put Natalia down here. We'll move these little cards to the side a little bit. We will have these objectives ready to go off to the side of the board because more can come out onto the board. Street Master is going to be played out over a series of rounds, each round consisting of 3 turns. The fighter's going to get to go on a turn, the enemies are going to get to go on a turn, and then the stage is going to get to go on a turn. We win the game if we defeat the boss, aka if we get the 18 hit points of Juan down to 0. The bad guys win if our health is knocked down to 0, or the bad guys accomplish their objective for this game. The objective is going to be determined by the stage that you play. So in this case, when an enemy enters an objective space, that enemy picks up one objective in that space. Each enemy may only carry one objective, and when an enemy carrying an objective activates, it will not move away from the entry space nearest it. Each one of these icons on the board is considered cover, and we will go over why that's important in this specific scenario. So the distribution network says, if there are ever 5 power tokens on this card, this is what a power token looks like, the fighters lose. So what's basically going to happen is enemies are going to activate on the board, try to collect this contraband, and get out with it. And our job is to stop them. As an interact action, which we'll go over here in a second, we have the ability to discard one objective token in your space and shuffle its card back into the stage deck. And then we get to gain 2 defense tokens of our choice. So these objective tokens are going to be coming out throughout the game, and the enemies are going to try to get them and exit on these entry points. When they do that, a power token will be placed on distribution network, and if there's ever 5 on them, then Juan wins. So what does a round look like in Street Masters? Well, we're going to have a fighter turn, as we said before, an enemy turn, and a stage turn. So let's go over the fighter turn real quick. There are 4 phases to a fighter turn. There's the threat phase, the act phase, react phase, and then the draw phase. The threat phase is the active fighter, which will always be us since this is a solo playthrough. It's going to draw a card from the cartel deck. Most of the time, these are minions, and when you draw them, they go into your threat area. Let's move this pin down a little bit to the left. And they will always go to the rightmost spot. Sometimes there could be event cards that come out that you would just resolve right then and there, and then they would go to the cartel discard pile. Next, we're going to go to the act phase, and this is where the bulk of our time is going to be spent during the fighter turn. During the act phase, you get to do 3 steps. You get to do a move step, you get to do a card step, and you get to do an action step. So for the first step, you can do a move step, and you simply move up to 3 spaces on the board. Each hex here is a space, so if I wanted to, I could go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Next is a card step. You're going to look at your hand of cards, and you get to play one of them. There are 3 types of cards. There are tactics that, when played, stay in your player area. You control them now. So if I were to play it, it would stay down on the board. You have ability cards, and these are kind of like one-time event cards that when you play them, you resolve the text on them, and then they go to your discard pile. And there's also attack cards, which also are like ability cards. As soon as you play them, resolve its effect, they go to your player discard area. And then additionally, you're going to have an action step. And during the action step, you can perform one of 4 possible actions. You can sprint, move your person up to 3 spaces. So on a given turn, you can move up to 6 spaces if you wanted to. You can defend, and what defend means is you're going to roll 2 white dice, and you're going to get 2 defense tokens for those, whatever they show. In this case, we're showing a punch defense token and a kick defense token. And if that was the case, we would simply take a punch and a kick from the supply and place it near our fighter. These are going to represent defense tokens, which will help us prevent injury. The next thing you can do is you can do a card action. Some cards, after you play them or start in the game, as in your main fighter card, has an action bold icon on it. So if this was the case, I could play the action on this card. And it says attack using 2 red dice. This attack deals general damage, and then exhaust a minion targeted by this attack and draw 1 card. So as you play more cards into your player area, so let's see if I have, like this card, exhaust icon and an action icon, or bold words. So if this card was down, when it came to that action step, instead of sprinting or gaining 2 defense tokens, I could do a card action, and now I have a choice between both of these cards, whether I want to do this action or whether I want to do this action. The exhaust feature on this card simply means when this is down in play, you can exhaust it and do whatever the text says. That doesn't mean you can't use that card for its action. It's pretty much like a free upgrade that you can do during your turn once per turn. So I could exhaust that, and if I wanted to, I could still do the action on that card. There are some cards that have another bold word on it called feint. If that is on this card, then you can feint it or discard it and do whatever it says on the card. And it's generally a more powerful effect since you're getting rid of the card. The last thing you can do is you can have an interact action as part of your action step. So in this scenario, there's an interact feature with the objectives. And according to the stage rules, as an interact action, I can discard one objective token in your space and shuffle its card back into the stage deck. Then I can gain 2 defense tokens of your choice. So the interact is going to be just dependent on whatever scenarios you play, whatever cards come up. It's important to note that these 3 steps, the move step, the card step, and the action step, can be played in any combination you want. You don't always have to move first and then do the card step and then do the action step. You can do them in any order. You just have to fully resolve one step before you move to the next step. AKA, if you only want to move 2, you can't move 2, play a card, and then move an additional 1. You have to fully resolve your move step before you go to another step. Next, we're going to move to the react phase. After you have gone with your 3 steps during the fight or act phase, we're going to go to the react phase, and all cards from left to right in your threat area are going to activate based off the text on the card. So like pinned down says activate. If you are not in a cover space, this card deals you 1 direct damage. If you are in a cover space, gain one random defense token. So in this scenario, it's going to be very beneficial for us to be in these spaces with cover, because if not, we're going to be taking damage each turn. After all the cards have activated in your threat area from left to right, we're then going to go to the draw phase, where you will simply draw 1 card from your fighter deck and add it to your hand. After the fighter turn, we're going to go to the enemy turn, and this is when the big bads get to activate. So all you're going to do is simply look at the enemy activation row. So this is the enemy row, this is the stage row, and you're going to activate any card in the enemy row, and you're going to do what it says. So I would activate wand first, and then I would activate the carbine. And there's an opportunity for other cards to come out that get added to the enemy row that could activate, and he would get stronger as the game goes along. Next, you're going to move on to the stage turn, where the stage gets to activate. Very similarly, you're going to activate each card in the stage row from left to right by resolving its activate ability. After you do that, you're going to go to the draw phase, and you're going to draw and resolve 1 stage card. This might either have like a one-off effect, or it might get added to the stage area. You just never know. So after the enemy and stages have activated, we're going to rinse and repeat. We are going to continue doing this until one of the in-game objectives has been met. In this scenario, it's either 5 power tokens have been put on distribution network, and that's for the enemy to win, or our health gets knocked down to 0, or we have knocked the enemy's health to 0. In that case, we have won. So I have not covered fighting, so I'm going to do that now. So whenever you fight, you're going to fight based off of whatever card you play. And fighting generally comes in 3 types. There's punch attacks, kick attacks, and grapple attacks. Based off the type of attack you are performing, the enemies are going to be able to try to block the damage coming their way with defense tokens that match whatever attack you are attacking with. Natalia is a little different, as her main hero card doesn't have a specific type of attack. It's not attacking with punch, kick, or grapple, which would be shown on the card. This says action, attack using 2 red die, and this attack deals general damage. So what's the different type of damage? Well, as we just talked about, there's kick, punch, grapple damage. There's direct damage, which is the strongest, and then there's general damage, which is the weakest. Direct damage goes through all defense tokens. If direct damage is dealt to us, we can't block it. Likewise, enemies cannot block it with any defense tokens that they have. General damage is very generic and can be blocked with any defense token. But we as a player decide which tokens to remove for the enemies when we're dealing generic damage. So how do these dice work? Well, based off your attack, you're going to roll a number of dice. And there's a couple of different results that could come up. So let's just go through them now. This is a success, and that means it's going to do 1 damage of whatever type of attack you're attacking with. This is a defense. It's going to allow you to gain a defensive token of whatever type of attack you're attacking with. So let's say I was doing a punch attack. If I rolled this, I would get a punch defense, and I would get to add it to Natalia. This is a good one. This is a hit, a success, as well as a defense token. And this is the best one. Absolutely love that there are no misses on this dice. This is a crit, and when you roll this, you could not only count this as a success, but you get to roll an additional die. It's fantastic. Love this. When the enemies attack, they're going to be attacking with a certain number of white dice, and it will tell you on their card, and you'll see that in the playthrough. They never miss, but they do deal punch, grapple, and kick, and there's 2 of each icon on this on these dice. As an example, let's see what would happen if we were defending against an attack and the enemy rolled these 3 white dice. They're doing a punch damage, a grapple damage, and a kick damage. And let's say that these 3 defense tokens were in my player area. Well, I can cancel this punch with a punch defense. I can cancel that kick with a kick defense. And I could cancel this grapple with a grapple defense. Okay? So if this was the case, we would not be taking any damage. But what I absolutely love about this game is that whenever you use defense tokens to block incoming damage, you don't just discard them. You flip them over and they turn into power tokens. And these power tokens go onto your character. So whenever you reach a certain number of power tokens based off your character, for Natalia, the number is 6. You get to remove that many power tokens off your player card, and you flip to your more powerful side. And so this is going to upgrade your character and allow you to do generally stronger attacks. It's important to note that immediately, as soon as you collect a number of power tokens on your player card equal to this number, you immediately have to remove that many and then flip your cards. You cannot wait. You have to immediately remove them and flip. So you're going to be going throughout the game trying to power up your character, use their ability, and then flip back over, power up, use their ability, flip back over. So that is the basics of the game. It's not all the rules, but we will go through more as we actually go through the playthrough. We are going to be playing a hero story mode, and each fighter in the game comes with their own story. And so we're going to be reading through these and playing through the game, and certain things may or may not happen. We're going to be upgrading our character by replacing cards in our deck with stronger cards. And this game will be played out over 2 or 3 different stages, just depending on how well we do. Natalia's story is kidding around, so let's read that real quick. Part 1, Prologue. "What are you doing here?" Natalia demanded, grabbing the boy by his dirty shirt. He squirmed out of her grasp, maintaining a strong posture in spite of the fear in his eyes. "I'm going to," Zane declared, his young teenage voice slightly cracking. Natalia narrowed her eyes on the kid. He was like a younger brother to her, but she was tempted to knock him out. But then the memory of the boy's parents returned. "Okay," Natalia said reluctantly, "but you stay behind me and don't try to be a hero." Together, the two made their way to the target location. With revenge so close, both knew that there was no turning back, no returning to a peaceful life barely lived. Now was the time for vengeance, for all the lives lost in the wake of the kingdom's ascension. Natalia was determined to tear them apart, piece by piece. Stage setup. Put the Zane perk into play in your fighter stage area. Okay, so we're going to look through Natalia's story cards. These are cards that are not part of her deck. And we're going to find Zane, which is the top one. Zane comes in with 4 health. And he says, each time you suffer any amount of damage, you must discard 1 defense token or place 1 damage on this card. When the number of damage on this card equals or exceeds its health value, which is 4, Zane is defeated and this card is removed from the game. While he's in play, he's going to help us and says, exhaust. Choose 1 fighter to draw 1 card and then shuffle 1 card back into their deck. So he's going to be placed down into our controlled area, and we're going to return these other cards back to the box as we don't need them until after this mission has been completed. And that's the game. We are ready to get going. We're ready to kick Juan in the teeth and get some revenge. So let's see how we do in the playthrough that will be coming shortly.